Today, I'm going to show you how we make our chocolate fondants. They're kind of like a sponge, but the inside is quite gooey. So as you cut into them, it's almost like an undercooked sponge. Just going to go through these with you today and show you how to make them. The first thing we need to do, which is the really important part when making fondants, is we use a dariole mold. That's what this is called. And we line the dariole mold with butter. This, to be fair, is probably a little bit too melted. You could do with it almost pliable rather than melted. And then we put the cocoa powder in and we do this all around the edge. Tap it out and then it should be completely covered. It's basically like making a souffle. Job done. That's how we line our dariole molds. This is the most important part because if we don't do this correctly, when we cook them in the oven and we go to take them out, if they're stuck and a tiny bit sticks, as we go to tip them out, it will literally go whoop, and then you've wasted 10 minutes of your life with it in the oven. You've lost your fondant, check's 10 minutes behind, and it's just not good. Right, so we've done the crucial part of lining the molds. They're all nice and done now, so I'm just going to leave them to rest up while I get on with the actual fondant. So in here we've got equal amounts of lovely 80% dark chocolate and salted butter. I always use salted butter when I'm doing the cooking on the desserts because I think sometimes desserts can be too sweet. Same with the pastry, same with everything. I think it's just nice to bring that little savoury note into the dishes. So that is salted butter. So that all goes into a pan and I'll put that on the heat and melt that all together. Then in the bowl, the mixing bowl here, we have the same one, doesn't matter. So we have caster sugar, goes in, and egg yolks. We've got double the amount of egg yolks to egg whites. I'll explain in a moment about that. Then they all go into this mixing bowl together with the whisk attachment on. And we whisk them together till they're light and fluffy, which gets to something called the ribbon stage. I'll show you that in a moment. So whisk on full. In here is our egg yolks and our sugar, and this is what we as chefs call a savion. If you're a baker at home, you'll know the terminology of this. So it basically means whisked egg yolks and sugar. Now you can do this in two ways. You can either do it the way I've just done it, cold and just in a mixing bowl, or you can do this over heat. So you'd have a pan of boiling water and whisk this by hand over the top, which would cook it out. But we don't need it cooking out just yet. Then we'll add the chocolate and the butter mix in, and we'll allow that to just work the chocolate in. Now for me, this is the important part because I'm going to use this same mixing machine for this. Now I'll empty this mix out into here, it'll be fine. So this is our chocolatey, savion, sweet, sticky goodness mix. Now I'm going to use this bowl again. This bowl needs to be really clean and grease free because for the next part, if it's not completely grease free, it won't work. Right, so we have nice clean dry mixing bowl. Back on the machine. Half the amount of egg whites to egg yolks is what we have here. I'm sure there's hundreds of fondant recipes out there, by the way. This is just the way that I use, and it's the same recipe I've used for 20 years and it always works, so. Nice and high, has to be high. We need the air, it's the air that's important. Now, can you see the difference in the colour? See, it's changing, it's going from see-through with like the egg whites would be to now it's going almost white and frothy. We need it to go to stiff peaks. We now have whipped egg whites. Now there is an old-fashioned wives' tale with this, how to tell when this is done. This could go one of two ways. So, someone once said, if you pick this up and put this on over your head without it falling, your egg whites are whipped. So, we're good. So, now I need to incorporate these two together. Now there is two ways of doing this. I mean, chefs will argue with this. For me, with what works with these fondants and the recipe is I like to add half of the chocolate savion into this, slowly incorporate it to not break the air, then I'll add the last half in and be a bit more rough with it, and then I'll add the flour in at the end. Again, there's two ways of doing it. So now we need to do something called folding, which is this. So now we're left with this, which doesn't look very appealing. So now we add the rest of this deliciousness and this really, 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 really small amount of flour. There's 25 grams of flour for this whole mix, so it's really not a lot. So I'll just put that in, like so. Now I can be a bit more stern with this now because it's holding, it's going to be good. So I can be a bit more aggressive. This bad boy gets used a lot in the kitchen. Don't ask me why. I've worked with ladles of all different shapes and sizes and whatnot, but this one seems to be the perfect one portion ladle, whether it be the starter souffles, these, whether we're weighing peas out, anything. This is my best friend for this job. So now all I'll do is literally big, 1 spoon, done. 1 spoon, done.